Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru, back again for UFC 282. Jan Blachowicz taking on Magomed Ankalaev for your vacant light heavyweight title. Crazy things unfolded to where we ended up getting this main event, but I'm still excited for it. And before we can get into it, we have a wonderful guest on the podcast tonight, one of the most hardworking, dedicated journalists in the game, interviewing everybody. Make sure you check out his YouTube page where you can find his playlist for each event with all the fighters he's interviewed. James Lynch in the building. What is going on, my buddy?
Nothing. Doing pretty well, actually. What an intro. Thank you guys for having me on. We were talking off air. I got to point this out to your audience just to give you guys some credit here. I was supposed to be on the show a while ago. I had to reschedule, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm glad we made it happen and excited to talk about this card.
Honestly, everything happens for a reason, and there could be no better time than to have you on right now. Seriously. So thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. No problem. Looking forward to it.
might be the card of the year to end the year. And do we have the guests?
Can I be honest? It was supposed to be card of the year. It took a couple fumbles a little bit along the way to where maybe I'm biased, but going to the Izzy card, I think that might steal pay-per-view of the year.
It might.
But this one is right. This one is right there. They knew to finish off with a banger.
Oh yeah. And listen, let's put it this way. I mean, one thing I also saw today, congrats on the 40K, James. That's also a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a lot better than 39K. So yeah, I'm quite happy about
that. That's right. And hey, if you guys are somehow here watching this and you're not already following James, I mean, you're obviously making big mistakes in your life, but that's okay. You can still fix it. Go ahead, hop on over because as you see here at Lynch on Sports, you can find all this stuff there and make sure, hey, throw us a little like on the show and make sure you're subscribing to our channel. But I mean, hey, I think we've kept you in suspense long enough. I know it's not quite the main event we were originally expecting, but you're telling me we got Polish Power versus Magomed Ankalaev. Do we have an official nickname, Guru? I want to make sure I get this right today.
For Magomed, no, neither. And technically, Jan Blachowicz's nickname is not Polish Power. I don't believe he's got an officially submitted nickname.
Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to give the TV nicknames. That's okay. We got Jan Blachowicz plus 235 and Magomed Ankalaev at minus 280. The over 3.5, interesting number. Normally we get like a 2 or a 4. Over 3.5, minus 105. Under 3.5 at minus 125. Man, I'm really excited for this fight. I know this was supposed to be our co-main originally, and we were going to get the rematch of the fight that we have been waiting for ever since the original happened. But listen, I think when you see these guys in the stand-up, Jan's not going to be afraid to come forward, throw in combination, body head, and Ankalaev, very defensively sound. And Jan Blachowicz, are you going to give up those hips again? So I'm curious to see where this fight plays out. But if it's on the feet, I think it's a lot closer than plus 235. A Guru, I mean, do you have a heavy leaning here either way?
Listen, this fight is one of the more interesting fights of the card, right? Because you really not exactly sure what to expect from Jan Blachowicz coming off, right? The performance that it was, he looked like maybe he wasn't going to necessarily be winning that fight. Certainly the live odds didn't indicate that he was going to be. And Rakic suffers a non-contact leg injury, knee injury, blows out his ACL, and Jan gets the win. So it's the name of the game, man. Can't take anything away from it. It's just Magomed has shown that that Dagestanis don't have to wrestle to win fights, and I do think that he will be able to stay at distance and kind of do what he does best, and be able to stay safe and not put himself into too much danger. And I kind of like this fight going the distance, honestly. I honestly think that the Rakic fight with Jan probably would have went the distance had Rakic not blown out his knee. So that's kind of the angle I'm looking at this moment, but certainly not necessarily the place on this card that I'm looking to sink my teeth into the most. But maybe the producer, the gambler's perspective, has a interesting thought on this.
Well, no, I kind of agree with you. Kind of the way I look at this fight, if you're looking path to victory, to me, it's Jan knockout, which very tall task. He's fighting a guy who's not been knocked out in the UFC. And then you've got Magomed Ankalaev, who, we think of him, especially that last fight, because he did finish it. You think of him as having this power and everything, but really he does not finish a lot of his opponents when he gets that step up in competition. I don't want to even count the Cutelaba wins in the sense that, Cutelaba is sort of a borderline UFC fighter at this point. But when he gets that step up, you look at like a Thiago Santos or some of these other names that he's fought, he does typically hit the scorecards. And, I interviewed Jamal Hill recently, and he got a lot of flack in that interview because he sort of went off on Ankalaev, mentioning how he does not take risks, because Jamal's kind of the opposite. He does take risks, and I would agree with that because we saw Jamal finish Thiago Santos in his last fight. So I think Ankalaev, if he does get a finish, I think it'll be later. You meant, by the way, I love the graphics here. This is awesome. I love seeing, I'm a stats guy myself. So seeing this, even seeing the odds, the over 3.5, like that is super intriguing to me because I do lean more towards Ankalaev in this fight. But I think I don't like, some people are thinking, Ankalaev is going to really break through here. We'll see, but Jan's a tough out, for anyone. He's got the power advantage, in my opinion. He's also a guy that, again, like, what Jan are we going to get? That Glover Teixeira fight is still fresh in the back of my head of how just one-sided it was. So is that a sign of Jan on the decline, or is it just an off night? We're going to find out in this fight, because even the fight with Rakic, which you guys referenced, he was losing that second round. Like, I like Rakic in that fight. I thought he was going to go on, and it looked like the tide was turning, but obviously his knee blew out. So I think there's still some question marks with Jan. The thing with Ankalaev is he may not make it pretty, but he does get it done a lot of the times. I like Ankalaev in this fight. I am going to be looking at the Ankalaev fight goes the distance prop on his end, just because I think that's typically how he wins a lot of his fights. And, I think the over is definitely something to consider as well, because I think even if Jan does get a knockout, I think it'll be later. The one thing we do have to mention about this fight is it was a co-main event. It was 3 rounds. Now it's 5. That should favor Jan if you think about it, just due to the championship experience. But it's also one of those things where, Ankalaev's 9 years younger, so that's got to benefit him as well. He does look a little bit faster here, but my official pick is going to be Ankalaev by decision. And I am certainly looking at, like I said, the over and maybe, possibly like a 4th or 5th round prop for Ankalaev, just in case maybe he does get that finish. But I think more likely he wins the decision here.
Ankalaev at decision plus 240, not necessarily something I don't hate that at all. Was also considering plus 160 Ankalaev round 4-5 decision. So you get the grouping, especially I certainly think we hit championship rounds. I love that breakdown, James.
Yeah, I agree. And I think ultimately I'm trying to find a reason to pull the trigger on Jan. And I think I just feel better about the over 3.5 at minus 105. I do think that Jan's striking is a bit under-respected. You see he's got a higher output at distance. You see he lands more and get hit less at distance only, not total strikes, than Magomed Ankalaev. And he got some of those stats going toe-to-toe with Izzy. When you watch, Jan checks every leg kick from everybody. That's the real thing that gave Izzy a ton of issues. Plus the length. I mean, he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage on Magomed Ankalaev. I'm kind of leaning Polish power on the money line here. I'm going to have a sprinkle. If I'm doing well on the night, I'll go with a sprinkle on the money line before the fight starts. But I think what I really lean to is the over 3.5 minus 105. And it just keeps you riding forward, because Ankalaev's defense is so good that even if Jan is going to touch him, like James said earlier on, I don't think it happens right away. And it's not the one touch death note.
Well, okay. So if I could you hold off on your degeneracy and possibly play that degenerate play live? Because if Magomed's going to start winning round 1, you're going to get a much wider line, and then you can play your little dog shot, and then right, because then, as you said, you even just said it, he's not going to knock him out early per se.
Right.
So now you got your plus odds when you a little even steamier.
Not bad, Guru. I appreciate your assistance here, especially a guy that I do lean towards Ankalaev as the straight pick. It's just something's been tickling my mind all week. If you ask Guru, we text a lot throughout the week, a lot. Like our girlfriends are kind of worried about it. But but no, on the real though, it's like I do think that there is a reason, and someone with the title experience and someone that has shown it against high level strikers. And I think the thing here is, like, is Ankalaev going to be a high level wrestler against a guy that's a high level black belt? Can he do it for extended periods without getting caught? Let's see. I'm interested. Are you guys okay moving on to our co-main event?
Yeah, I think we like Ankalaev personally, but
yeah, no, I lean that way for the pick, but I'm getting the degenerate tickle.
I know.
All right, so now we've got Paddy the Baddy
Paddy the
Pimblett
Baddy.
versus Jared Flash Gordon. This one is moved up to our co-main event here. As far as hype goes, though, I don't think they could have done a better job. Someone that's going to help sell a pay-per-view, get the people talking. I mean, all of Paddy's videos on the UFC channel are doing way bigger numbers than the main event, just for whatever that's worth. But yeah, ultimately, you got minus 245 for the Baddy versus plus 205 on the other side for Flash. Over 2.5 plus 120, under 2.5 at minus 150. And by golly, the over is looking interesting to me. I think Paddy, while he's shown to be a prolific finisher, he has shown the ability to be grinded out in the past. Now, I don't think Gordon can necessarily do that over 15 or even over 8 minutes, but at least at 155, he's not killing himself on the cut anymore. And I don't think Paddy's necessarily going to chin him early or anything. So I'll take a plus 120 on an over, and like fading the hype in the sense that Paddy's like some sort of elite finisher. I just think Gordon's kind of seen it all as far as opponents go. And, you know, even if he doesn't win the fight, which like I want to play the plus 205, but like something, you know, guru and something and everything's telling me all week, like they don't put Paddy in the co-main unless they really think he's got it. And yeah, I guess that's the case. And it sounds kind of weird. And I really want to take Jared Gordon. He's a really great guy. And I've seen everything about him coming, you know, back from the trails of addiction. But, you know, at the same token, it's like Paddy's out there talking about men's mental health and just mental health in general and helping people out. So it's not, you know, I mean, you can't hate on either. So
listen, these are two world-class blokes. You know what I'm saying? Like these are nice guys you know, want to sit down and have a chat with. Jared, you know, again, one of a kind individual, come over a lot of personal demons in his life, talks about them very openly, really very admirable individual. But, you know, probably, you know, going to get finished by Paddy the Baddy here, unfortunately. I really like Paddy's chances just to generally just create chaos and how well he does under the lights and under the pressure. You really it's one thing to be an unbelievable fighter, and they say it all the time, like guys are unbelievable in the gym, but they get in front of the people and they're different. And that's why you've also seen guys that maybe aren't the strongest, aren't the fastest, aren't the most athletic, put it on when the big lights come on, because you got that ice in your veins. Paddy is somebody that's, the more cameras, the better for him. And I think that somebody like Jared, so introspective, like kind of almost like cowboy in a way, like could be there on fight day and maybe not want to be there and would be open about that. It's a showcase fight. It's a tough fight. You know how I feel personally when you've got the age, height, and reach advantage on your side. And then when I do the tape matches up. Jared, unfortunately, no stranger to losing or necessarily being finished. To your point, I kind of do like the over, though. Paddy's somebody, both of them have kind of are slow starters in a way. Paddy has kind of, as you see, stumbled out the gate basically in all of his fights, whether it's getting, you know, clipped by Luigi or having to struggle with the grappling with Rodrigo for a minute, or similarly struggle with the grappling for Levitt for a minute. Like, I can see why not everybody is super high on the guy, but what you have seen is you've seen him get finishes in all those fights, and he's now got, you know, 3 UFC wins in a row, and I believe now a 4th in his co-main event. I kind of like the submission over the KO, which is kind of where they have him, but at finish at minus 115, I haven't quite found a way to sink my teeth into this fight yet. Maybe James has something for us.
Yeah, I think the play here is the Paddy Pimblett inside the distance. I don't even want to do submission or knockout because I've had that backfire. Terrence McKinney, it just comes to mind his last fight. I'm like, he's going to knock him out, and then he submits him, right? So sometimes it backfires a little bit. But the real thing you guys have to remember here is that Paddy's in the co-main event, and if you look at a guy who's only had a couple of UFC fights, that just doesn't happen, especially guys who are not even ranked. This is very strategic by the UFC. They are building Paddy up. They are giving him the Sean O'Malley treatment, which is a slow progression up the weight class, and you know, you keep sort of priming him and sort of learning on the job. Now, what is one weakness with Paddy Pimblett? It's his striking defense. He doesn't really have to worry about that in this fight. He's fighting a guy in Jared Gordon who is not a power puncher. Jared Gordon's last knockout finish or last TKO finish was his debut. And it was a fight that he missed weight at featherweight against Mitchell Quinones, who I haven't heard about for years. So I guess kind of what I'm getting at here is like, I don't know Jared's path to victory in this fight. I know Paddy's path to victory in this fight. This guy's a finisher. He seems to thrive under the bright lights. He's the co-main event here. I don't think he's going to let Uncle Dana now and down or anything like that.
No, right.
I think he goes out there maybe a bit slower than usual because Jared Gordon is a vet, but I do see him maybe finding his timing. I think second or third round finish for Paddy Pimblett in this fight. I just think he has a bit of an it factor. Like I said, I think the only thing that's concerning with him is the striking defense, but I don't think Jared's the type of guy to exploit that. I think, again, very strategic who they've given him here. I think Paddy goes out there, gets another finish, and we start looking at his next fight as being someone that's actually ranked. So we'll see what happens.
All right, and I am looking for the future point to fade him. It's just not right now.
Sure.
I thought I might have wanted this to be the spot, but upon further deeper introspection, Guru told me it's a 95% spot. I can't miss out on this.
It is an absolute smash shot. He would literally be fumbling the bag. I mean, this is his slam dunk. He's got to make like James said, Uncle Dana and Uncle Dave. He's got two rich uncles that have put a lot of money and investment into him to get this job done, and I think he does.
Yeah, listen, he's I think we kind of left it where we need.
So
to.
would you lay the chalk at -115? That's kind of where I like. That's why I had kind of said the submission over the KO because like I'm such a slut for plus money. Like I couldn't. But like -115 isn't so bad, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, and losing round one to Levitt definitely happened. Gave up 3 takedowns, gave up like 4 minutes of control, got outstruck from distance. Those things stick out of my mind. That's why I like the over 2.5. I think Gordon is definitely a step up.
Over 2.5?
Yeah, over 2.5. I like it.
So when does Paddy get to finish?
I don't know that he does. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm allowed to think.
I'll get out of here. What do we got?
So anyways, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morono. We got very nice sounding names out here.
Neither one of them are
dagger,
Italian.
right?
Neither one of them are Italian.
Exactly, but I'm watching The Sopranos. Come on, I live in Jersey and I'm watching The Sopranos.
That's however, Sopranos, just saying it.
Guru's been telling me forever. I'm fucking hooked. I'm almost done with season 4. So
I'm on my like 3rd or 4th rewatch. I've been telling him. We've been friends for a long time. I've been telling him for years to watch Sopranos. I'll get into it one day. I'm like, dude.
Now he owes me
it's
Lord
the
of
best.
the Rings.
It is the best.
We have like a running joke on my live stream where there's this guy who's a big Sopranos fan. He'll throw quotes at me and I have to remember what the quote was from. And there was one last time, which I'll test your trivia right now. Don't disrespect the pizza parlor.
Oh,
yes.
That's early. That's season 1.
It's Jackie Jr.
2. That's season 2.
Jackie Jr.
No, it's actually Maltasanti to Jackie Jr. if you remember.
Oh, after he did.
After Jackie tries to act tough or whatever, and then Maltasanti puts him in line, right? So,
so that wasn't what he said to the kids. That's what Maltasanti said to him.
Was it
exactly.
Beansy? Okay. Did Beansy owe the pizza parlor too? I forgot.
Beansy. Oh no, that was outside the pizza parlor. I'm talking inside the pizza parlor.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not. I gotta.
All right. Yeah. So he's catching up to that point because
I'm in that rewatch. I just finished season 1.
Cruising. So anyways, so that explains why TB was using Italian accents to say Santiago the dagger. Santiago the dagger Ponzinibbio.
Argentinian.
The Argentinian dagger Ponzinibbio versus Alex the Great White Morono. Actually, well, it's like a shark though. He's a baby shark, daddy shark. But so we got -180 on Ponzinibbio. +155 on Morono, and over 2.5 -160, under 2.5 +130. I'm liking that over. A guy Morono coming in on short notice. I know he's always ready, but I'm sure he's not looking to get into like a crazy firefight, especially someone with some pretty high level defense on paper. And guess who's got even better distance defense on paper? It's Santiago Ponzinibbio. Morono is going to be giving up a little bit of height, a little bit of reach, a little bit of preparation. He is a little bit younger, but I think he's got a shot here. +155 seems solid if this guy's going to be wrestling the whole time. I can't trust that he can do that the whole time. Ponzinibbio's got solid takedown defense. I just think it's tough to even corral him on the feet and get him to those positions where you can even get in on his hips. So at the end of the day, I'm not really looking to take the dog shot here, but the over 2.5. It's definitely speaking to me. And Ponzinibbio round 3 or decision. He should win on volume. But I mean, if Morono is like fully ready to go, like he had a full camp, I mean, it might look closer than the line here, guys, especially, you know, Ponzinibbio getting a little up there.
Yeah.
Guru, I mean, are you smelling the secret sauce I'm cooking up here?
I kind of like this fight for Alex Morono on short notice. It makes me really truly wonder like why the original booking was what it was. Like what were they doing? It was very like it's rare that we've talked about it in the few times that it happens, but it's rare that you book a fight and then it gets canceled and this is better than the original booking. Of course, we all love to see Robbie Lawler, but this is like actually a competitive fight. No disrespect to Robbie Lawler, but Alex Morono is somebody who has shown I know the striking defense stat is a little higher from Santiago. I've just been so freaking impressed with Alex Morono. And I kind of like this short notice because he's somebody they talk about it so much. He's such an awkward striker. That's also one of the reasons why his striking defense is so good because he's shifty. He's weird to try to pick up. And I think with less time to prepare for Alex Morono, that could be more troublesome for Santiago. What the questions, of course, are big. Where is Alex Morono in his cut? Where was he in his camp? How was he doing? Was he in fight negotiations? All these kinds of things are things that happen behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know, which is why I think regardless the line's too wide, right? I think the line should be a little closer. So that definitely puts me on the dog. And then to your point, TB, I kind of want to go a little further. I like the fight to go the distance, actually, because you've seen that Alex Morono's last, I don't know, 5 out of his last 6 fights have went the distance. And Santiago Ponzinibbio, other than getting finished by Li Jingliang, has been soundly durable and in his fights. So I like this fight to go the distance at -135. James.
Yeah,
please.
I'm with you. I'm right with you there, and a lot of what you're saying I agree with. One thing to keep in mind, 2 things. This is a catch weight; it's 180, so I don't think the weight will be an issue for either. I mean, if anything, that gives Morono an advantage. People don't think of it that way, but I mean, Morono's the one coming in here. He doesn't have to cut the extra weight. He doesn't have to kill his body coming in on short notice. Like you said, Ponzinibbio was going to fight Robbie Lawler. He was a huge favorite. I think he was like -500 or something. And to be honest, it was a pointless fight. Like Ponzinibbio was going to win that fight. This fight, Morono, really underrated, really good guy. And the other thing we haven't talked about, who's Morono's teammate? Jeff Neal. He defeated Ponzinibbio. His coach, Saif Saud, was probably like, look, we can win this. I already got the blueprint right here. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, is that Morono does have that familiarity with Ponzinibbio. He might have, I don't think he cornered him, but I know at the very least, like he's, his coach is obviously Saif Saud, the general. He's one of those guys that really sort of keeps his eye on opponents here. And you're exactly right. The durability from Morono. Let's forget about that Chaos Williams loss. That was a weird card where a bunch of his teammates lost, if you remember. And then obviously what was the other fight that he had where he lost? He got that's the only stoppage he's had. And then Pettis he lost. That was just an off night. Didn't look great in that one. But I think there is some value here on Morono on short notice. People. It's weird when it comes to certain fighters. Like people have this memory of Ponzinibbio when he beat Neil Magny as if that's the same guy we're still getting in present day, and it's just not. He had all those health issues, injuries. He had that long layoff. I don't think he's looked the same since then. And if we're getting sort of a deteriorating, Ponzinibbio, I'll take a rising Morono who is extremely underrated in my opinion. You mentioned his striking's not pretty. There's nothing really pretty about his game. It's just a guy that can seem to get it done. The other thing with Morono and the chances that I've had to speak with him over the years, this guy is a huge fan of the sport. I think himself, he probably looked at this and said, I know this guy very well. I can go out there and take care of business. So I like the over. I like the fight goes the distance. I will throw some money on Morono by decision just for the hell of it, because this is a guy, like I said, that I think is taking advantage of an opportunity here. So that's my take on this fight.
Morono by decision +270.
Give me that plus money, baby.
Let's
I love it. Okay. All right. I'm fully sliding over here. I was tickled by the dog. That's it. James has always got the inside scoops here. I love it. And you know what? The 180, that's a big thing that there's so many flying pieces going through this fight week, so many things going on. And like, man, you got a guy like James Lynch cleaning up the back end here for us. Oh my goodness. So the listeners are so lucky today.
I was just about to say, just in terms of cleaning up the back end, just connecting the Fortis MMA connection.
Yes.
All of it.
All of it.
Full rounded. Anytime you want to come back on, James, you're welcome. You're part of the Chronic Combat family, baby. Anytime.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Let's get it.
So
Let's
I
keep
think we
cooking.
got that one, and oh no, we got Darren, the Gorilla Till.
Does he make it to fight day? Come on, like is he really
We're
gonna
getting
fight?
Knock on
close.
wood. Knock on
We're-
wood. Don't no black cats. No ladders. Going under any ladders. No
Oh
bad
my
luck here. This
God.
fight's got to happen.
We made it to fight week. That's a lot better
Yeah.
than we can say about a lot of other times. Let me tell you what. So
Yeah, how about the
I'm
New
feeling
York
good.
card when we weren't sure that he was gonna get to the fight with all his visa issues?
I was at that
Remember?
card too. I remember that, and I remember
Oh.
thinking like he came in super late. If you remember to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Mm.
did. Yeah, he came in like on weigh-in day, I think, or the
Yeah.
day before. Right
Somehow
before.
he was cleared, but it worked out. You know. So.
So here we go. So we got there might be the little Grusito and Nana couch cousin.
Right after back-to-back. Wait, right after it was just one. Right after just the main event spot for Darren Till, or was it back-to-back main event spots? I can't. It was back-to-back after back-to-back main event spots. He now asked for not only not the co-main event, but just somewhere on, somewhere in the main card there.
just a regular old feller now. And facing a guy in Dricus du Plessis minus 180 and Darren Till plus 155. Let me tell you something real quick. And this might not apply to you, but I faded du Plessis last time against Rob Tavares. And the line I think was closer than
Brad?
this. Brad Tavares. What am I doing? Jeez. So I apologize. Thank you.
It's his evil twin.
Yeah, it's his evil twin.
It's his non-Hawaiian brother.
Right. Yeah. So, but and now we've seen Darren Till. I mean, listen, I think that when you watch the striking acumen versus a guy in du Plessis that's like, it's like he's on roller skates, like doing like a little, rock'em sock'em. And listen, I mean, he turned up his pace. He lands like almost 100 significant strikes. I didn't think he had the gas tank to do that. But I also don't think that Tavares is necessarily like the most chilled out, like I'm going to play from distance and like you're going to have to come and get me to do anything. Darren Till has got a reach advantage. It says he's given up an inch of height. I want to see their face off. But the strikes landed, I know, are a lot less for Till, but the strikes absorbed are also a lot less. So a guy looking to counter and find a great shot against the guy coming in on roller skates doing his rock'em sock. I mean, what do we think is going to happen? We might see Darren Till actually score a knockout for the first time in a long time. And I think that the line on it is very stupid, plus 350 for a guy of his talent level. But you might as well just take the dog money at plus 155. But no one ever said you couldn't sprinkle both. Sorry, Justin, future champ. So
just
Perrin,
so
we'll
you
see
know
what
that
happens.
just so you know that line is plus 450 on FanDuel. So
spicy.
I'm not exactly convinced Darren Till will get a knockout. I'm not even necessarily super convinced he'll get a win, and neither are the Vegas bookies either. But I certainly can't lay Dricus here at minus 180. Certainly seems like a line issue. I certainly think the line should be closer. I understand du Plessis being favored, but especially with Darren Till's layoff, but he's lost to the best of the best since coming up to middleweight. I'm coming up to middleweight here, right? Like getting smashed by Derek Brunson is like not. I don't want to say not a big deal, but like it's understandable when he's the Muay Thai striker and just struggled with the wrestling. Like that and just so everybody knows, like I think that's after that fight he became friends with Hamzat, right? Like it wasn't before. I think it was after, right?
Yeah,
so like
after.
So his whole all the jokes about him being a Russian now, like this has all come now after that fight. So I hope he's improved his wrestling takedown defense. Not necessarily something that he's gonna have to worry about though either in this fight. Dricus is gonna come at him. He wants to strike. So Darren Till, somebody more patient, is finally gonna have somebody that brings the fight to him. Because before he fought Derek Brunson, who was bringing the fight to him with wrestling, you had Robert Whittaker, one of the best counter strikers not only in the division, but probably in the UFC, maybe like ever. He won unbelievable. And then, his loss to Jorge Masvidal. Is that a good look? Probably not. But Jorge Masvidal, a crafty striker. And if anybody can remember, that was his last fight down at 170. Didn't make that cut ever again. So he's not a chinny guy, and Dricus needs a knockout. So the question is, can you expect Till to put up enough output without taking damage to actually win a decision? And that's, this guy's got to come out and put it together. It's a chance for Till to show everybody who everybody thought he was going to be. Otherwise, it's a Dom Reyes spot, and if he just gets folded over, then it might be. Oh, I don't know. Losing 5 of your last 6 is really tough. So, James, what do you think?
Yeah, I see this a bit differently. Like, I think it's very. I did a video on this when this fight was first made, and I kind of posed the question: is the UFC kind of getting rid of Darren Till here? Because if you look at his opponents, you mentioned who he's fought. You know, Brunson, Whitaker, all these. This is the first like sort of non-big name he's fought since basically like Bojan Volikovic. If you think about it, look at the run he's had. If you think of notable names that he's fought since then: Cerrone, Thompson, Woodley, Masvidal, Gastelum, Whitaker, Brunson. Dracus is sort of like I like Dracus, and I think he's like the future of this division. But it's very interesting the UFC went this route, because to me, if you like Darren Till and you want to see him do well, it's a very dangerous fight for him with not a ton of upside, right? Like you referenced the fight with Tavares. Yeah, I think, a little bit disappointing from Dracus, even though he did get the win there. Although I do want to mention he had a long layoff going into that fight. It was about a year off. The thing I worry about with Till is that this guy's not even 30 yet, and he's had how many injuries, how many fights he's pulled out of. It's going to be an even longer layoff going into this fight, more than a year. Like, what are you getting here with Till? Like, that's the thing. Like, I think that Whitaker fight, despite losing, that was probably one of his best performances. Like, he hit Rob with the kitchen sink in that first round, and Rob was just like, nah, I'm Rob Whitaker. I don't get knocked out unless I'm having an off night against Israel Adesanya. But in general, like, he's a guy that like I said, like, Till's exciting. He's a personality, but he's lost so much luster because he doesn't fight. And you just think of the opponents that he was supposed to face, Hernandez and all these names. Like, these are notable guys. Dracus is sort of that dangerous opponent that he's fighting that like Till needs to win this fight big time. Dracus, he loses this, big deal. If Till loses this, we might start to be talking about Darren Till maybe getting released here soon. So I just think there's a lot on the line here. I think with Dracus, like, I think he's getting better. I did have a chance to speak to him before this fight. Did his entire camp back in South Africa. Really felt like, getting a fight at the end of the year was really good for him, getting to sort of keep that momentum going off the Tavares win. And I think the biggest thing with Dracus, and he sort of talked with this, he hasn't taken that much damage in his career, right? Like, he's a guy, and he's also a former welterweight up at middleweight now. So that's another thing to consider, that I think size-wise, these guys are going to be pretty sort of, on par with each other here. But I'm of the belief that it's a case of two fighters going in opposite directions. I think Till had his peak, and I think, unfortunately, injuries and so many other things have sort of derailed that. And I think Dracus is a guy that every fight we're seeing get better. What I do like in this fight is Dracus by decision. I think Till's extremely tough to finish. One thing you mentioned about Till's knockout power, Till is yet to get a knockout at middleweight. So does that power translate to 185? I'm not so sure. And even though Dracus has been knocked out, that knockout loss that he had last time for Dracus was at welterweight against Roberto Soldic. So I think people forget that he was cutting a lot of weight in that fight. I don't think that's going to be the case here. So I'm going Dracus by decision here to get it done over Darren Till.
Dracus by decision is plus 340.
Give me that again, plus money. I'll take it.
That's super juicy. And honestly, I may just go fight goes the distance at plus 154. Like, I don't if I don't necessarily.
That's actually a good play. I didn't know that was plus money. That's very interesting. Yeah.
If I don't have to pick a horse in this crazy one, again, can't wait to be glued to the edge of my seat for this. But if I don't have to pick a horse, and I do think it's gonna go 15, that's the play. That's great. Yeah, that's great stuff, James.
All right, gentlemen. I can agree on that over there. That's something I can get down with.
I bet you can even get. Oh, there it is. See, fight to start round 3 minus 108. I thought you might get plus money.
That's not bad, anyways. But you get that far, it's going the distance. Come on.
Exactly.
The distance.
Maybe a little stacking. Who knows?
Ooh, stackage. Ooh. All right. Well, we carry on. We got a firefight on somewhat short notice also, right?
This fight probably should have still been a main event, because we were supposed to have it as a main event. I'd love to see 5 rounds of it, but just to have this fight on the card is just absolutely incredible. Bryce Mitchell is must-see TV. And I mean, it's hard to say that Ilia Topuria isn't. I mean, my goodness.
Was it a different fight that was originally scheduled, and then Mitchell filled in and fights?
Both their opponents fell out. It was Bryce Mitchell and Ivoliev. Ivoliev's injured now. Topuria was supposed to fight Edson Barbosa, so they basically just took both opponents and put them together. And little tidbit: these guys actually have the same management, so it's probably easy to put this together.
Okay, all right. Because not a lot of guys are looking to fight Ilia Topuria, and I'm sure you could say the same exact thing back the other direction towards Bryce Mitchell. But this is. We got to start sorting out our prospects here, guys, because
Bryce Mitchell doesn't care anywhere on this flat earth that anybody wants to fight him, he will fight.
Nah, that's for sure, man. That's why we're seeing him in this matchup. Topuria minus 135, Bryce Mitchell plus 115. It's been quoted from TB earlier in the week that minus 140 Ilya Topuria was a gift from God. So let's see where we end up
That is a
now
quote. I
as
have
we
the
get
receipt.
into the show. We got over 2.5 minus 135 and under 2.5 plus 105. I think there's just one thing that's extremely clear to me is that if this fight were to take place at distance, there's one fighter that is clearly a bigger danger to the other, and it's clearly Ilya Topuria with the body head combinations. It's not even that he has so much the one punch knockout power up top, because he hasn't really gotten any of those, even though the highlights are there. It comes from he nails you to the body with these crazy hooks and jabs, and then he's ripping up top with the overhand. So your body's already trying to recover as you're not even seeing the strike coming over the top. And yeah, that's what generates that power. And it generally takes a few of those combos to land to really get it. So he puts everything into those shots. Is Bryce Mitchell going to be scooping around? He's very evasive defensively. Is he going to get the back? What are the scrambles going to look like? We're talking Greco jiu-jitsu black belt versus a more of a folk style and also jiu-jitsu black belt and Bryce Mitchell. Two very different styles when you actually see it play out, whereas Mitchell's a bit more of a grinder and it sticks to you, and Topuria is just damage, submission, damage, submission. So clash of styles. When this, I mean, line open almost minus 200 Topuria. So seeing a minus 135 right now, I mean, my God, am I tempted? But Guru's been kind of whispering. He's like,
What have I said? What have I been whispering?
He's just saying,
Other
I'm
than
going to let the
nothing.
Guru whisper for you. I mean, you're the Guru. I should let you whisper yourself. But I just want to let you guys know, like, it's been so. What I come away with ultimately before I pass it off here is, if you're going to play Topuria, especially, as it's gone, like, good, you're getting better value now on the line, but it's got to be finish only for me. I just don't see Mitchell really finishing him aside from like a death gas. Topuria, very good defensively, and even though he did gas out his debut, whatever. But let me pass it off here because it's Topuria by whatever. Let's get into the Guru.
Well, to your point, if you were interested in the finish only prop over on DraftKings, Ilya Topuria finish only is minus 190. So they certainly see it your way in terms of the finishing equity being on Ilya Topuria's side. It's tough to disagree. You've seen Ilya Topuria, I mean, just absolutely murk his competition, other than Yusuf Zalal, which nobody's knocked out or finished Yusuf Zalal.
That was short notice too. I think
on short notice.
Yeah.
In his debut. Yep. Thank you, James. Probably very true. I'm sure that is true. Yeah, somebody that's just been absolutely phenomenal, and has shown everybody, like the Jai Herbert fight, right? UFC loves those kind of exciting, ridiculously exciting brawls. I mean, to me though, I'm not sold on the bill of goods yet, and that's kind of what I've been whispering. Fans love recency bias. People love the name. They love, Georgians, the people from that region, the Russian region of that area. I don't want, right? They're very contentious in their borders. I'm not trying to make any, from those northern regions. They love to wrestle. They love to fight. The dude absolutely is talented. I just wonder if he's bitten off a little more than he can chew here with just somebody in Bryce that, hasn't been finished on the feet, is absolutely tough as nails, willing to grind you out, and gonna be the bigger guy. Topuria probably a little bit thicker and muscular because Bryce is not exactly ripped, but Bryce is like, I mean, with all from Arkansas, I mean, he's farm boy strong. It's a different kind of strong, that corn-fed strong. So, without too much technical stuff behind it, I do lean Bryce Mitchell in the dog spot, kind of just fading some of the just sort of recency bias on Ilya. You kind of see him gas out, like you said, on short notice against Yusuf Zalal, knocking out Damon Jackson, who's a good grappler, but never got going with his grappling, smashing Ryan Hall, who was basically doing nothing in that fight at all. And then again, smashing Jai Herbert. Yeah, he went up to lightweight. Why? Because he had problems cutting weight. and then fights a guy who, yeah, is a lot bigger than him, but I mean, hasn't shot for a single takedown in the UFC. So when you know that there's absolutely no chance the guy's in front of you is going to grapple, you get to light him up on the feet. And guess what happened, by the way? He got dropped bad in the first round and had to like claw his way back to win that fight. So again, people remember the highlight knockout. He's a stud, but don't maybe necessarily remember the trials and tribulations you have to go to get there. At least somebody like Bryce Mitchell has fought Edson Barbosa and Andre Fili. You know, maybe it's the latter version, the later version, the lesser down version, the watered down version of Edson Barbosa, but that dude's still a killer. And Andre Fili, again, somebody with the alpha male camp that does a ton of wrestling. So yeah, that fight was a little bit more dicey back and forth, but Bryce won soundly, especially in the third round, even through the cut. So like I said, I don't think that you're finishing Bryce. And if this fight is going later into the rounds, I think that leans Bryce anyway. So I'm taking Bryce. James, what you got, man? I'm really excited to hear this.
It's funny because you guys are both on opposite ends. I kind of see this as a 50-50 fight. I'm so glad you brought up that Jai Herbert fight because people you look at the result and you're like, oh, you got another knockout win. Jai Herbert, who's Jai Herbert? He almost lost that fight. And I realize it's a weight class up, but like that was a bit eye-opening for me. He's not going to have to worry about that in this fight because Bryce is not a power puncher, but still I remember watching that fight being like, what is going on here? This is crazy. Interesting tidbit. So I did speak to Bryce. Bryce didn't come to media day today. His flight got in late or something. So if you guys want to see some insight, go check out my interview with Bryce I did about a month ago when this fight was announced. It's on my channel, youtube.com/LynchOnSports. But one interesting thing he mentions is that Bryce wanted to actually fight sooner than this, but it was Ilya who was having weight cut issues. And I think we didn't mention this. He was supposed to fight Charles Jourdain, Topuria that is, but he had weight cut issues. So that's why they're like, okay, like, you know, obviously you can't make 45 right now. Do you want to fight at 55 against Jai Herbert? He's like, sure. So the one thing I will tell everyone right here, right now is let's look at the weigh-ins first. If Topuria is a bad cut, I would certainly look at picking Bryce here. Now, with all that said, I am impressed with Topuria's stand-up. We should mention Bryce, although he has not lost professionally, he did lose on the Ultimate Fighter to Brad Katona, who's a bantamweight, which is kind of interesting, kind of looking back now and where their careers have gone. But I think that Bryce, his stand-ups come a long way. The fight against Fili, I thought, and even like a Barbosa, it's like, okay, because I actually picked Barbosa in that fight. I thought, okay, Bryce, this is the fight where the striking is going to get exposed, but he was fine. He had a good game plan. I think with Topuria's striking is going to be the difference here because I think on the ground they kind of cancel each other out. Bryce is a great ground guy, although not a lot of submission finishes. He's got a good ground game that has led him to a lot of decision wins. The other thing that we haven't talked about either is that I know Bryce did spend some time at Glory this camp and was supposed to have James Krause in his corner. Not going to be the case now. Because obviously with everything that's going on with James Krause, his teammate TJ Brown is also on this card. So you got to wonder that too. Maybe if Brown loses, is that going to mess up Bryce? I don't know. But anyways, that's just another thing to kind of look at. Long story short, I think it stays standing. I think Topuria lands the better shots. I think Topuria wins the decision, but I am very worried about the weight. So I would go have a look at that, see what's up. You know, the reason they moved this fight was so Topuria could make 45. He should make 45, but I would keep an eye on that ahead of the fight with Topuria because he's definitely got some weight cut issues.
Fight to go the distance, -105.
There you go. Again, I know I keep picking decision here, but we're talking about a lot of durable fighters. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I love it. That was the one thing I told Guru earlier in the week that he agreed with me on. And we kept on saying it's going to be such a good fight, such a close fight. I think that's where we end up going, you know?
I get if somebody gets a finish, either one of them gets a finish, their stock is just
it's a breakthrough performance. They do that, yeah.
Absolutely.
All
so
right.
I can't wait for very exciting stuff.
So here we go. We got the prodigy, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Jay the Joker Perrin.
So wait, I'm sorry. Are they using this as the prelim main event? Like what's happening here?
So I'm not sure because they kind of moved something around right before we did the show. So I didn't have enough time to make sure if it was main event or I'm sorry,
it's a featured prelim. That's what I heard today.
That was the word I was looking for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Featured prelim. Yes. So that's really dude, the fact that they're putting this in the featured prelim, like that's crazy. You have Edmund Shahbazyan, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who you've given numerous main event spots to. Chris Curtis, you just gave a co-main event spot to. And this is the fight you're putting in your hallmark, your featured prelim. Wow.
They're in the holiday spirit. We're talking Santa Claus at the media day today.
That was brilliant.
It was pretty funny. But listen, I mean, I'm like, I kind of heard them talking before I did their tape study today. You know, and as I'm watching Rosas on Contender Series, what I see is he's kind of given up bottom position, and if his opponent doesn't go and jump the gilly 5 times, I mean, we might have been looking at a different outcome in the fight. If we had a wrestler instead of a jiu-jitsu practitioner in that fight, I think we're looking at a different outcome of that fight. And oh, that's funny. We got Jay Perrin over here, someone that knows head positioning, cage control, double legs, things that keep you away from guillotines and submissions. Someone that didn't really struggle too bad with the submission stuff or anything like that, but more so the length and the experience and the UFC grit of guys like Mario Bautista, and then a killer with stone hands like fucking Arichi Long. Now we got Raul Rosas, the fucking 17-year-old shit talking, I'm going to be, but I think Jay Perrin's fucking right. And you guys can disagree with me. I've had a bunch of people do it so far, but I got money on Jay Perrin plus 195. This is a stupid line on someone that they're promoting way too fucking fast. Let's be serious. I'll take plus 195 all day on a dog like Jay Perrin. So go ahead, Guru.
So I'll say a few things. Jay Perrin absolutely is a dog. Another one of those guys that's just a wonderful individual. Cares about other people. Talks about coming from that dark place and overcoming some of that stuff. So Jay Perrin, the Joker. I mean, just an unbelievable individual. And I certainly am pulling for him on a personal level. What I do worry about for him is that he's kind of, at least what I saw in his media day, is just that he does, and I understand it, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. And when I think about that mentally going into this fight, and of course of watching Jay Perrin's tape, he's willing to engage in the grappling. And I just think if he's not doing I don't care that he's the better wrestler. I really don't necessarily. If he's not willing to use his wrestling to try to stay up and piece this kid up on the feet, I just don't like it. And it's as simple as that. I just don't trust my money on that. Because I don't care how good of a swimmer you are. You probably don't want to go jump in the tank with a shark. Don't do that. This kid is a really good grappler. What you saw, when you said it, TB, and I saw it too, he did make a few grappling mistakes versus Mando Gutierrez, who, I'm not necessarily sure of his overall jiu-jitsu level in terms of where that would compare to Jay Perrin or anybody else. But I do like that Jay Perrin has done the damn thing before, now coming in for his third fight. I just, again, it's kind of the Paddy the Baddy thing. It's like you're putting this dude at the featured prelim. I know they all want to see this 17-year-old kid, but do they want to see this an 18-year-old kid get knocked out? Maybe. It's kind of interesting. It would be an interesting choice by the UFC. But I would tell you this, that Jay Perrin would by himself would not be in the featured prelim. So we certainly know who's the A side. Vegas certainly has a leaning, but again, still to your point, probably a little too wide. My analysis, if Jay Perrin doesn't use his wrestling to keep it on the feet, where he absolutely has a chance to win, I think he's going to give Rojas a better chance to win than he should. So kind of leaves me off of it. I kind of like the fight to go the distance, though, again, right? Is that plus money? Can I get a little plus money? Minus 115, basically even money. I kind of like it. Maybe it'd be a very long fight card.
I like that.
What do you got, James?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Just in general, I'd love to see the data on Contender Series winners making their debut, because I don't we've seen a couple cases where it's like, what happened there? I am a big believer in experience. You've got a guy, and I spoke to Perrin and pretty much gave me the similar thing to what you saw in media day here today, is that he's pissed off. He knows what the UFC is trying to do here. Obviously he hasn't had much success since making his UFC debut a little while back there, and I think he's got 16 fights. Raul, if you look at who he's fought prior to Contender Series, it's not a lot of great competition. I'm definitely going to throw a little bit of money here on Jay Perrin, just because of the fact that I just think experience does pay sort of dividends when you look at things like that. And Raul, you do see sort of that glimpse of okay, there could be something special here. And again, the UFC, they're strategic, right? They put stuff together, but we've seen stuff blow up in their face. It's a fight that I just kind of, I'm coming back on memory lane. remember when Sage Northcutt was the thing in the UFC, and then they gave him Brian Barberena, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, hold on a second here. And Barberena won that fight, right? So sometimes they make mistakes here. I think they might be making one here with Jay Perrin. Saying that, though, I do think Raul has some ways to win this fight. I just think minus 230 is absurd for someone who has no UFC fights. Like, this should be a much closer fight. And again, I know you look on the paper and you see he's lost a couple fights. He fought Mario Batista to a decision on short notice. That, I think, in itself is a badge of honor, considering what Mario's been doing in that division. So I think, I'm going to throw a little bit on Jay Perrin at plus 195. I definitely see some value there.
You sold me. I'm digging into grandma's couch cushion. I love JJ. He's an awesome guy. I always try to make sure not to get my personal bias wedged in there, but the tape does agree. So I do like it. So Jay Perrin, man, let's get it done, baby.
Dog of the day, grandma's couch cushion.
And I hope he gets 50K and makes some sort of really funny Santa Claus related joke or something. That'd be awesome.
Oh man, we got big man Mushroom in the chat. Took a nice fat nap after work. Had just enough dessert. Look at this. Yeah, I was about to,
dude. Of course you needed a nap. I was literally gonna ask if you nap, dude. You ate 12 ribs at your desk with all that. Oh my goodness. James? Do you see Mushroom? This guy eats the craziest lunches you've ever seen in your life. They go viral on MMA Twitter.
I have seen them. Yeah, for sure.
Everybody's seen him.
Yeah.
He's insane. He's amazing. Yeah. He's a legend. Unbelievable.
I would agree. Yeah.
Right there up there with the Liberty Bell, and Lincoln Field is, Mushroom posted eating a Philly cheesesteak.
So, make sure you guys like and subscribe. We got everybody in the house, and man, we're having a great time. So we're going to keep it rolling here. We got a great pace. We got Jairzinho, BG Boy, Guru's profile picture for many years, Rozenstruik.
Many years.
Versus Chris Daukaus.
Chris, I used to be a cop, Daukaus.
Did Guru just do a TV nickname? Oh my God, I've never been so proud. Oh my God. Okay, all right. So anyways, we got minus 170 Rozenstruik and plus 145 Daukaus. I think in retrospect, it could look like minus 500 Rozenstruik.
Whoa.
It could. I mean, listen, Curtis Blades, I know he has the threat of the wrestling and everything, but on the feet, I mean, we're talking, that was pretty crisp striking. And I know Rozenstruik doesn't throw the volume, but if Daukaus is going to be the one coming in to close the distance because he's got a reach disadvantage and get into the pocket, and we know Daukaus doesn't have the one-punch knockout power, he needs to land in combination. And the check hook comes around from Rozenstruik. The left hand is, or even the right hook on the back. He's going to be fine with kicks from distance. He should, still have a good athletic advantage. Daukaus is talking about going down to 205 at the media day. Not this time, but I mean, if you lose by knockout to Rozenstruik, I mean, it's probably next time, right? And I think Daukaus is a really talented fighter. And at 205, with the type of shape he's been looking in, I really think he could be one of those guys where I'd be like, wow, if he uses like his jiu-jitsu skill set a little bit more and those hands at 205, I might be interested. But against Biggie Boy here, Guru, I'm looking at minus 170 and the knockout prop at minus 120.
I'm just very confused by Chris Daukaus, honestly, because like you just said, he's talking about moving up or moving down to light heavyweight, right, where he probably should be. But when you look at his weigh-ins so far at UFC, he's come in heavier basically every single fight. 235, 234, 231, 235, 243 in his last fight. Where is he going to come in his weight here? What is he training? What does he want to cut 40 pounds of fat? Like, what are we what is happening? Very confusing. He also said, I kind of liked hearing it. If you wanted to be on Chris Daukaus' side, he said, if I go there and stand and bang with this guy, I'm an idiot. I didn't do my job, and I probably shouldn't be fighting anymore. It was kind of what he said. And I was like, damn, son. So, like, what do you plan on doing then? Are you going to go in? You just watched your brother get his face knocked in again. Are you a little, how did that affect your psyche? Are you going to go in there and try to, like, maybe dance around Biggie Boy one strike at a time? Does Biggie Boy ever strike? Is he gonna knock him out? I mean, the last person he finished was Augusto Sakai, who they promptly kicked out of the UFC, and Junior Dos Santos, who no longer with the promotion. He's lost four of his last 6. And against high level competition, Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov. The Volkov one is really the worst one of them all, honestly. And it ended. I was gonna say ended the quickest, but not quicker than Francis Ngannou. So I don't know how anybody felt about that stoppage. I didn't necessarily love it. Do I need to see guys like absolutely sleeping for the fight to be stopped? No, but I don't know. I didn't love the stoppage, but he definitely was pretty dazed. So with all that being said, how about this fight going the distance at plus 350, or is somebody really going to kill each other? James, you got something sharp, so maybe clean it up so I can zero in on what I'm thinking about this.
I think this might be the first fight we're on the opposite end here. I'm liking Daukaus here. I was not, you referenced that Volkov fight. That was a kind of an eye opener for me. And I know that obviously, it was a bit of a weird stoppage there, but I don't know. I just don't see anything different from Rozenstruik. I feel like he's got that, like you said, the left hook. He can knock guys out, but other than that, like, what does he really bring to the table here? I think Daukaus is more well-rounded. We didn't even talk about Daukaus's ground game. Like, it's pretty solid. You look at the gym he comes from. I see this as like a 50-50 fight. Like, I think both guys have had their chance of, getting into that contender spot, and they failed in both occasions. I like the fact that Daukaus has not fought since March. I think that's a good time off considering he lost to Lewis and then Blades after that. I don't know. Like, there was a point when we were talking about him and Tom Aspinall, and then it was Daukaus who just lost a bunch of fights. We kind of forgot about that comparison, but I still think there's something left here for Daukaus. I think he's faster. I think he's going to be a guy that can, again, like, have more ways to win this fight. And you're getting him at almost 2-1, almost plus 200. Yeah. I'm taking a stab at Chris Daukaus at the underdog here. I think he gets it done, and I don't think this fight goes the distance.
I like that. I was taking a shot on the wrong dog piece. To your point, how can you play Rozenstruik as a minus 170 favorite when his only path to victory is ripping Alistair Overeem's lip off? Like, if that is your absolute only, if that's your only path, I can't play you as a favorite. You would only have to play the knockout prop, because if he goes the distance, it's going to be Chris Daukaus without a doubt. So I thank you for cleaning it up and clearing it out for me. I did want to be sure. I'm thinking on another dog side here, especially, again, like you said, if he stands and bangs with this guy, he made a mistake. That's a wonderful thing to hear. You shouldn't stand and bang. Use your speed. Move around this guy. Point him out while he's staring at you and get yourself a dub. Let's go.
Yep. All right. Hey, I respect it. And listen, it's going to take some shaking to get a minus 170 Rozenstruik anywhere on my actual bet sheet. But I will say, I'll stick by the analysis. But we got our next fight here. Edmen Shahbazyan, the Golden Eagle, versus Dalcha champ Lungiambula. This one, man.
Talk about busted prospects.
A tale of two men that you just have learned to not trust. But I think we're talking about two completely different levels of like, let's be serious here. Edmen Shahbazyan is getting the opportunity of a lifetime to turn it around here. Let's be honest. I mean, we're talking about the guy that just got tapped out, Dalcha champ Lungiambula. You're not such a champion if you're tapping out round one to Cody Brundage. If you're getting knocked out round two by Puna Soriano, who is a great power striker, it's just in the UFC, he's been going a bit more to decision ever since he's come back from his injury stuff. So, Dalcha, it's looking like you're going to be finished in one way or another by Edmen Shahbazyan. It's just a matter of trying to pick which way exactly it happens. And Shahbazyan knockout is plus 110, submission plus 700. Am I a sicko for wanting the submission, or do we just settle on a finish? Because, I mean, that's probably just the smarter thing to do. Fight doesn't go the distance, minus 225. Dalcha's chance is inside the distance. I mean, what is he going to do? Sit on top of him? That's not the thing. So
he's got one. He's got no. I don't. I really don't think so, man. This, like you really said it very well. This is Edmen Shahbazyan's chance of a lifetime to get his UFC career, his MMA career back on track. In the distance is interesting. He's got one submission. Are we sure we don't want to just like snip that little guy out?
Well, it's the change in camps is the idea. He's actually
so you want to take Extreme Couture?
Yeah. So I
I,
mean, if
to me,
anything,
to
it's
me,
like
well, so to me, I what I gain from that is that he'll have a great game plan more than he'll be willing to use jujitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
The jiu-jitsu. So and again, you look at his losses, Derek
All right.
Brunson, Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Imavov. They did not do him any favors giving him Nasruddin Imavov. That was borderline mean. Getting elbows from crucifix. But you saw it in that fight. He looked decent enough through round one, was holding his own, gets kind of taken down by Imavov, and he was trying to submit him. And once he didn't get that guillotine, you just saw the look on his face. He was like, yeah, I've got nothing left. And that was it. So, moving to Extreme Couture, taking a full year off, yeah, I would expect his game plan to be better, and I would expect his cardio to be better. Because if it's not, his cardio has been his Achilles heel. Because if it's not, that's it. You're gonna watch Edmund Shahbazyan roll out. You're gonna watch Darren Till roll out. You're gonna watch these guys roll out.
Oh,
and it's gonna be wild. Because
it's looking like ludicrous.
They would Luda
Roll out.
So bad. Yeah, I like Edmund to win by knockout here. I think he should get it done. Dalcha has looked absolutely bunzino. And gets it. Other than Cody, like he's winning that Cody Brundage fight, winning it, and puts himself in the worst possible spot. Is completely gassed out himself, and doesn't like. The choke is in. He doesn't even fight the hands. Taps immediately. He's so tired. He must have already been drowning. Like he didn't have any air. So there's nothing to hold on to continue to try to fight. So both guys, like I guess I'm with both guys having cardio issues. Let's go with Edmund, baby. Edmund by finish. I like it. Or even maybe he takes his time and goes the distance. But at Edmund minus 300, I don't necessarily love it. It's certainly a line issue still, even though he should win. But I don't. What do you got for us, James? I'm sure it's something.
Staying far away from this fight, honestly. Like I think maybe I'll do Edmund inside the distance, but man, has this guy been super? It's like two completely different fighters. I remember being in New York when this guy head kicked Brad Tavares' head into the front row, and then after that, it's just been like this big issue with his cardio and not being able to like perform very well. And granted, he's had really good competition here, but that's got to hurt him to some degree here. I know he switched camps, switched management, all that stuff, but I don't know, man. Like I need to see a bit more from him to sort of win my trust back, so to speak, because I just have not been impressed with him at all. And, that was always the knock on him was that, he was training with Edmund right for forever. And it was always like this running joke, and he had not fought very good competition leading up. He was sort of like the exception to the rule. Like he kept winning these fights and you're like, okay, maybe he is good. And then Derek Brunson like completely shattered those dreams. So I'll take Edmund. No way in hell I'm laying close to 3-1 odds in this fight on Edmund Shahbazyan. Like you're exactly right. They're setting him up to win. He should win, but I mean, would it also not shock you just to see Dalcha just like pull this one off and just like completely like ruin everyone's parlays? Like that's what I'm worried about. So Edmund will probably win. Like I said, maybe I'll take him inside the distance, but my initial thoughts on this fight was I'm just going to pass.
Yeah. And you know what?
See, I told you it'd be sharp. Guys, the best bet sometimes is no bet. Hello?
Yeah.
Save your money. We got so many spots on this card. James Lynch always coming through with the fire analysis.
LOL, PFL going to be waiting outside the UFC Apex. Oh my goodness. All right. My goodness.
Bring it. That's actually really funny. Bring in the meme of that guy rubbing his hands together. Like he's ready. That's funny.
Oh man. All right. Whoa. We got hater alert. It's Chris Curtis in the building. The action man, fresh off a flight to Orlando to be a hater.
Yeah, that's somebody. So give the background. I'm not sure everybody knows that.
All right. So Chris Curtis was like, yo, I lost to Jack Hermanson, flew to Singapore, had a fun time. Didn't have a fun time, actually. But now my boy Roman Dolidze is going to take a fight on 2 weeks' notice. I'm going to fly down, corner him in Orlando. And now he, after the fight, was like, yeah, I literally had to fly down to be a hater. You know what I mean? Like, had to be in the corner for my boy Roman against Jack. And it's like,
I respect
all right. So, hey, man. You took the time to go fly down. You got to hope Roman's going to be in your corner, in return the gesture if you want it. Maybe, you never know. But anyways, as we get down, now that I've explained everything, Guru asked, it's plus 140 Curtis, minus 165 New Mansa, Joaquin Buckley. Over 1.5 is minus 175. Makes sense, which is why I'm like, why is it an over 1.5? Anyways, Under 1.5 is plus 140. So, like, if we were to say, all right, like, let's be serious here. Joaquin Buckley, he generally doesn't get early knockouts. Even Jordan Wright, he's the only person that didn't actually knock out Jordan Wright in the first round. I know he kind of did, but like, that's the only non-first round loss for Jordan Wright.
That's
and
funny.
so Joaquin Buckley, like, for his power, his crazy swing. Wait, was Impa Kasanganai round 1? Am I messing up?
No,
I thought
round 2.
Yeah, round 2, right? Okay.
That was round 2. Yeah.
So all these crazy, awesome finishes, everything, like that over 1.5 does make sense, even if Joaquin Buckley does get a crazy knockout. Chris Curtis is a builder, and Joaquin Buckley took 3 rounds to get knocked out by a guy like Kevin Holland, who had a reach advantage over Buckley. Chris Curtis has given up the reach here, so I understand why the line is where it's at, but also, like, Chris Curtis at plus 140.
Do you understand where the line is at? What
I
was
don't know, man.
Can you remind me?
I don't know.
Maybe my
I'm
memory's
confused.
a little maybe my memory's a little fuzzy. But wasn't that line versus Jack Hermanson pick'em, or did I miss something?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, so you're pick'em versus Jack Hermanson, but
Oh.
all of a sudden you're a plus 140 dog to Joaquin Buckley.
Sounds. I was gonna say it sounds fishy. It smells fishy, Guru.
What? Oh my
Go ahead.
goodness. Yeah, I don't necessarily have the strongest leaning in terms of like technical breakdown and which fighter I want to stick my flag on in this fight, but like it's a line issue. I'm confused as to why Joaquin Buckley's so heavily favored. He's a guy that, sure, he lasted with Nasruddin Imavov in a very good fight, but Nasruddin's a beast. Showed some grit there. And then other than that, he's beat Albert Duraev. That guy looked not very good. The split with Abdul Zaraka Hassan, who everybody and their grandma put that fight not to go the distance, and that blew up in their face when that fight went to split decision. I'm not sure that finishing Chris Curtis is necessarily an easy thing to do. Only finished by Ray Cooper. Who's unbelievable. Ray Cooper, you guys may not know, but Ray Cooper's a fantastic boxer, powerful, and that was Chris Curtis much younger. Since then, he's won 1 million fights other than losing to Jack Hermanson last time. So now all of a sudden he's gonna not only should he be an underdog, but he's gonna lose to Joaquin Buckley. Why? If Jack Hermanson couldn't take him down, if Rodolfo Vieira couldn't take him down, Joaquin Buckley's taking him down and then smashing him. The line is weird to me. So I think it should probably be closer to pick him. So I'm on Chris Curtis.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like the dog hunter. I like just the X-ray, like they got that dog in me. Like it's just like the X-ray in my head. I got that dog in me right now. Well, James, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Buckley, you touched on it there. This guy has been so inconsistent. That's kind of my thing. Like, I remember when he got that viral knockout, everyone's like, this guy's going to run through the division, and it just didn't happen that way. And he's fighting a guy who's got like a gazillion fights, who should have been in the UFC years ago, and is getting it done at middleweight for the most part. Like, he's been a very like cool story here. I think the biggest thing for me is the durability of Curtis. Like, is Buckley going to be able to knock him out in 3 rounds? I don't know. I don't think, like, I'm looking at that over right now at minus 175. I think that hits no problem. I think Curtis is going to make it a tough fight, and just kind of get in Buckley's face, take away a lot of those weapons. This is a pick 'em in my book. I am going to slide slightly towards Buckley because I do think he'll land sort of better shots throughout the 3 rounds. But I don't think this is a slam dunk. And if people want to bet Curtis, I get it. I do, because I just think Buckley is not as advertised. I think I'm not going to say overrated, but I think he's just very inconsistent for me anyway. So yeah, pick's going to be Buckley, but again, not like amazingly confident or anything.
I think as you put it, as advertised, is the absolutely appropriate way to put it, because you bill him as Impa Kasanganai ninja knockout star, and he's really kind of like super willing to use the wrestling and kind of more patient, and was really more punches and bunches with his knockouts than like supreme one-hit KO power.
Wait,
So-
is that?
What?
No, nothing. It was stupid. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure it was. And you know what is interesting? As you say that Buckley might be able to outpoint to a decision, the stats certainly do show that, with the pace at distance stats being significantly higher for Joaquin Buckley. Not only does he land more at distance, but he keeps his opponents from landing more at distance. And that's a fairly impressive stat to look at. So maybe the dog shot's a little too far. Maybe the play is just on the fight going the distance, which is also plus 150. Very interesting. What's fight to start round 3?
While you pull that up, we're gonna
Minus
consider
110.
minus 110. Okay, I'm all about fight star round 3. Joaquin Buckley's gas tank falls off at that point, so I don't love it if this fight gets into any offensive or defensive wrestling. Buckley's not going to be looking hot round 3. So, yeah, here we go. We're on to the Squidward.
How is this see, this being the 4th fight of the night really does show the depth of this card.
Yeah, come on. We got the Squid. We got Billy Q Quarantillo versus Alexander the Great Ape is his nickname now?
Yes. Yeah.
Hernandez. Okay, caught me off guard there. Not ideal. All right, so we have Billy Quarantillo minus 165. Alexander Hernandez making his featherweight debut in the UFC. I don't know if in his career. Yeah. So
he's so thick.
Yeah,
I don't know how he's doing it. How?
Not ideal. And for a guy that honestly always kind of made me sketched out in round 3 and everything, I don't love it here, especially against a guy in Billy Q where like his whole thing is round 3. I really don't love it here. Now, Alexander Hernandez, if you told me you go and look at his round 1 or 2 line, it's like I thought I saw earlier, like plus 800. That's his win equity right there. I don't think he's out voluming over at least 10 minutes and surviving a round 3 if he has to put out that much volume to win said 10 minutes to survive the Billy Q round 3 absolute swarming. That's just inevitable. 64% takedown defense. That will not do, Mr. Hernandez. That will not do. Billy Q is going to just drag you to the deepest waters. The Squid, he's built for those high pressure situations, man. And once he gets those tentacles wrapped up on you, my God. Billy Q round 3 or decision, Billy Q round 3 knockout, and Billy Q smashed the money line. Bring it on home. Steamroller got the train rolling, and now Billy Q's bringing it back to the station. We're cashing out heavy, 2-2. Law MMA boys, we love them. Friends of the family.
Yeah, shout out Steamroller, who will be in his corner. Friend of the show, came on, did a wonderful interview, just awesome guy, and then we were able to watch him get that dub live as an underdog, cashed on him. Also wonderful
in person,
wonderful feeling, absolutely. Billy Q getting the respect here from the betting market, which is interesting. Alex Hernandez, right, making, as we've said, making his featherweight debut. Is he cutting off his quad? How is he making weight? The dude must walk around at 7% body fat or something. I mean, I have no idea where the weight's coming from. He must really feel like he can do it. Or to me, maybe just maybe he's just kind of grasping at straws. Maybe he just kind of saw the writing on the wall in terms of lightweight, losing to Hanato Moicano, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, like just kind of struggling in terms of dealing with anybody that brings any sort of grappling his way. Maybe he feels like he can be much stronger here. Maybe James has a better understanding as to what his career trajectory ideal is for him. But I am concerned for him, for his weight cut, for his cardio. And TB took my prop at +3 or round 3 or decision, Billy Q, because I do like the fight to linger a little bit. Billy Q by sub is probably an interesting prop, which is, what is it, +700. I kind of like that a lot. So, yeah. What do you think, James?
I think we got to see the weigh-in. That's really what this comes down to. If Hernandez looks good and okay, I may even throw him first round prop. We know the story of Alex Hernandez's career. It's first round finish or he gasses and loses. That's pretty much how his career has gone. It's crazy. Like, you look back on like wins that happen and like kind of like in hindsight and like, how did he beat Beneil Dariush? Like, that's such a weird win now, kind of looking back at his career and where he's gone. And Beneil like might be fighting for the lightweight title next, like the winner of Volkanovski and Makhachev. It's just crazy to see like how different careers have sort of gone since then. But I look at the featherweight moves as kind of like a desperate move here. I think it's trying to save his job. He's going to try and have an advantage with the power. We'll see if that translates to 145 here. But yeah, I'm always a believer in, there's a few rare cases, but I'm always a believer in the fighter that's in the weight class. You got to look at that. The fact this is a guy that's made 45 in Billy Q time and time again. He's tough to finish. That's another thing to like about him as well. Like maybe Hernandez can't take him out in the first round. There's just more ways for Billy Q to win. I love that round 3 or decision thing. That's I'm on that all day. Billy Q should win this fight. We'll just see how Hernandez looks at weigh-ins. If he's walking on that scale and he's good and he's lean and everything's great, I might, take a quick, glance again at the odds and everything. But Billy Q should win this fight. It's his fight to lose, basically, is what I'm thinking.
All right.
That by the way, I just saw it in the chat, and to be sure, and so everybody knows, Alex Hernandez by KO at plus 550 is an absolutely ridiculously stupid prop. Like, that's insane. And to your point, James, Alex Hernandez by KO in round 1 is plus 1,500.
I'm definitely gonna. I mean, unless they are carrying him to the unless he's like trying to do his best Aspen Ladd impression going to the scale here. I just think it's I think if he makes the weight, you got to at least consider that. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is. He's, because you're right. I mean, he's dangerous. He's lethal in those first 5 minutes. So it will be interesting to see how Billy Q deals with that. But I'm certainly pulling for our guy Billy Q, and I'm glad, like you said, that I was kind of trying to understand, and thank you for putting a little perspective. That's right. It seems a little desperate. I feel like he can't beat the upper echelon of the lightweight division, and he's gonna try to take his try at this to see how his body even deals with it. He's like, sure, I could eat less food and work out more. Let's do it. Let's see how it goes. So let's go. I'm excited. Well, 4th fight of the night. They will not make us wait for that one.
As we talk about food, oh my God.
Oh, you pulled up this lunch today?
Pulled it up as we were talking about it before, and my God, look at that.
Chicken wings. Chicken wings, the quart of chocolate milk.
That's where I'm kind of lost. Is the chocolate milk rib combination? Is that really a good combo? I don't know, man. That's where he loses me a little bit. Everything else, though, totally on board. But the chocolate milk, like my kids are drinking chocolate milk, man. I don't know.
Live resin vape for dessert, the most important part. So we love you, Mushroom. You are the king.
I love chocolate milk, but yeah, with ribs is a little strange. Do you know what it is? It's like it's that classic, like, I won't put a religious domination on it, but it's like you're sitting down for Sunday dinner. Everybody's got their napkin tucked in, and you see little Junior with his hair this way, and he's eating steak and peas, and he's got a cup of milk with him.
Yeah, there is some movies. Interesting. Yeah, oh yeah.
Chocolate
all right, so here we go.
Yeah,
we got downtown TJ Brown, right? Versus Eric King Silva. This one
not that Eric Silva. Different Eric Silva.
Yeah, very confusing as you're searching through fights. But no, so we got the quote unquote prospect, Eric Silva, making his debut here. Versus the downtown TJ Brown, not a glory anymore. You can't be. Yeah.
That is the craziest story.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling here, because I mean, we could beat that thing to death if we wanted to. But
yeah,
I mean, talk about a factor in a fight. But here we go. It's minus 110. I mean, Eric Silva opened as like a minus 170, minus 200. And the over 1.5 and minus 175, under 1.5 at plus 140. I like this fight kind of to be an under or a doesn't go to TJ Brown's pace is crazy, whether it's grappling. I mean, the dude has 8 submission attempts in his career. That's a significant number as a grappler. Eric Silva also, I mean, all of his wins, I mean, listen, they're rear naked chokes, so it's not quite the same type of scrambling, triangle, whatever, but the dude knows how to do top control and elbows, and then when you're not feeling so hot and you roll over, he takes the neck. And those elbows are nasty. So TJ Brown, don't get too excited going for arm bars and stuff, because if you eat those elbows from bottom, it's not going to be good. And you love playing from bottom. His stand-up did look a bit better. He's got better volume, I think, than Silva, but Silva's going to be a bit more dangerous. And if Brown comes out over aggressive, those counters, those leg kicks are going to be heavy. But yeah, I mean, as far as a pacing, UFC experience type of deal, I get it. I see why TJ Brown got bet to being back to even money. I just, I'm coming away and I'm saying, you know what? Let's see some violence here. Fight not to start round 3. I think with some plus money still. So I'm gonna go for that.
Yeah, fight just did not start round 3 on DraftKings is minus 115. It's
yes, minus 115. Yes, I'll take that.
You know, it's funny. I feel like I don't even feel like a real UFC fan. I feel like all these fights are going the distance. TJ Brown is somebody who's had 4 fights in a row go the distance. So is Eric Silva the kind of guy that is going to finally put him in a position to create that chaos and have a finish? Maybe. Eric Silva, man, is not, like you said, is he a prospect at 35? Like it's really kind of tough to figure out where exactly he's going in his career. Was he expecting this call? TJ Brown to me is somebody that, well, I really wish I could have gotten that dog money. Plus 140 on TJ Brown in this spot, plus 150. Man, that would have been a steal. I think this line is accurate where it is now in terms of being a coin flip, because TJ Brown probably has the better skill set in terms of overall wrestling and just and for sure experience, somebody who's done the damn thing. His striking isn't too bad per se. But yeah, Eric Silva is somebody, like, you can't trust TJ Brown. And Eric Silva is somebody that has just shown, against relatively suspect competition, but has shown lights out performances in Lux Fight League. So yeah, I'm just interested to see it. Kind of more gonna sit back and watch. I probably pick TJ Brown to win, but I don't really know where I would put my money, or even if I should. So James, you gonna tell me where I should put my money?
No, I'm the exact same way here. I'm staying away from this. This is just a weird fight, man. Like, you've got Eric Silva. Here's the other thing with Silva. Like, I think you guys talked about it there. All these first round finishes. Like, how's this guy going to look? And he's had 2 decision wins. He's got 1 loss in the 3rd round. Like, this guy does not know anything outside of the 1st round, really. And TJ Brown's has a couple of UFC fights at least. He's gone the distance. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. If I would have got TJ Brown at like plus 140, I'm all over that. But for now, it's like, I don't know. I just stay away. He's not a prospect. He's 35. He's a guy with not a lot of fights, if that makes sense. He's still not a prospect. To me, a prospect's like, below 30 years of age. Yeah, I'll go TJ Brown. But yeah, no bet. This is just a weird fight, man. And then you add in the Kraus not being in his corner. It's just, who knows?
That's a really, really tough wrench for TJ Brown to be without Kraus in his corner. And then, again, you look at Eric Silva, somebody who's such a dynamic striker and, throws these spinning attacks. Doesn't that leave you open to be, or leg kicks? Doesn't all that stuff lead you open to be taken down by Mr. TJ Brown? And he might take you downtown. So it's a terrible joke. So yeah, exactly. I agree. Probably save your money. I lean TJ Brown.
All right. Talk about we got the phenomenal Vinicius Salvador versus Daniel da Silva Lacerda Miojo. So
pretty good.
Yeah, not bad, man. We're rocking, and just as much fun as those nicknames were and those names were, that's how fun this fight's gonna be, and it's not gonna last long. No. I mean, these guys, as much offense as they have, they got 0 defense. My goodness. I mean, it is balls to the wall. We got all action. I mean, Salvador, talk about variety, power. He tries moving his head. He does, but he'll get clipped a bunch for sure. And Da Silva is just spinning, coming forward, throwing in combination. Prince of Mischief, I didn't quite go the under 1 minute, but I went under half a round. So this thing's not going more than 2.5 minutes. Da Silva's on short notice. Salvador's got no time to lose. Da Silva's got no time to lose when they're in there. Neither of them really want to offensively wrestle or anything like that. This is going to just be like, get in the pocket, throw combinations. First man that goes down, ground and pounds happening. Da Silva, if he gets hit to the body, and Salvador loves throwing combos, whether it's hooks, kicks, anything to the body. So under 2.5. And if you're going, Salvador minus 245, it's like, I would parlay him, but this fight's going to be so crazy. It's just like, I don't want to sweat that. Plus 250 for under half a round. I'm looking to have a little bit of fun. We'll see.
Wow. Yeah. I think for the most confident spot on the card that I can pick, that there will be a finish. These guys, one of them should absolutely leave sleeping. Like that, there's going to be an issue here for at least one of these guys, if not both of them. Vinicius Salvador, Vinicius, somebody who I picked against in his Contender Series debut, right? He faced Shannon Ross, somebody who I did pick as a heavy favorite and was much smaller, but didn't the guy fight with appendicitis, so they gave him the contract anyway? They're like, dude, I don't know whether that's a legal thing or not. Like, they're like, we probably should have picked that up on the medical card, so here's your contract, or we're so impressed that you're a savage, so here's a contract. But he got the contract.
Both.
Probably both. He'll be fighting at the pay-per-view in February. But in this fight, I don't understand necessarily why he's a minus 245 favorite. Still a little steep. He should be the favorite. It does make sense. Daniel Da Silva is somebody that, even though he has all that finishing potential, he's shown after hurting Victor Altamirano that he does not have one-hit KO power. And you're going to need that versus Salvador, who is unbelievably tough and gives you his chin to hit. So if you're not going to put him out with one of those laser shots, then I kind of like Vinicius to get that finish, because you've watched Daniel Da Silva. I mean, not only does he only get the wins in the early rounds, like, he just doesn't have the gas either. You've seen somebody like Vinicius, you just kind of put it on people, and I do expect him to get it done, even though the line is a little steep on the money line. So is Vinicius by finish? If I can get that plus money, I'm in. Minus 190 is absolutely horrendous line for him by finish. So probably not playing too much on this fight. What, under 1.5? Can I get under 1.5? Vinicius and under 1.5 is minus 150. Okay, we're getting warmer. Lynch, James.
Yeah, that's you pretty much said what I mean. This is just such a weird fight, and someone's getting. I mean, I shouldn't say someone. Salvador's getting the finish, likely. I mean, Da Silva's not UFC caliber. I think it's been proven that 3 times now. So, that's kind of my thoughts on this fight.
The loss to Francisco Figueiredo, I think, being the true nail in the coffin.
It's very well said. Yes, exactly.
And then again, so he takes his short notice thing, and he will be in and out of the UFC in about 1 year's time. So, like for his whole career, like, he'll finish up his 4-fight contract, and unless he pulls off some sort of crazy finish over Vinicius, they will not re-sign him. Would be my guess.
All right, so we
unbelievable.
We made it, man. Look at our pacing here. We got the curtain jerker. We got MSP Cameron Saaiman versus Stephen Koslow. This is not a TV nickname. Obi-Wan Shinobi the Pillow.
That's an unbelievable nickname.
What? Like, okay, explain. Is there an explanation, or is it just like ridiculous?
I mean, he probably likes Star Wars or something. Would be my guess.
James, is there any insight onto the nickname?
I actually didn't ask him about his nickname. I did have a chance to speak to him, but I just, for whatever reason, I didn't catch his nickname, and I would like to know the story behind that. I bet it's very weird.
That's it.
I was gonna say, I was just watching your interview with Mr. Koslow. Make sure you guys go check that out over on his YouTube channel, James Lynch. Look him up if you're not somehow already following him. Fighter interviews up the wazoo. Was just watching his interview with Stephen Koslow. You just did 6 days ago. He's talking about how this was his 3rd time receiving the call, and finally he's getting it. Just talked about his whole process of dealing with that, how it has dedicated himself full-time to the sport of MMA, which is something you love to see, especially for his debut. He's going to be ready to rock here. I love this fight from a learning standpoint, from an exciting standpoint. Cameron Saaiman, somebody from South Africa, right? Teammates with Dricus du Plessis. So interested to see how they work together on the card, coaches, that sort of thing. Maybe the momentum feed off of it. That'd be super interesting as well. Cameron's super green, and we can say prospect here. A true blue chip prospect. Very few amount of fights. Doesn't even necessarily look fantastic versus Josh Wang Kim in the opening round, really, and has a much better second round. And as a plus 190 dog, sleeps the guy. Was incredible and gets the contract, and now again is here minus 365. I don't necessarily think that Steve Koslow is the kind of guy that doesn't deserve to be here. So I am confused about the line. I mean, Cameron's a flashy striker and seems to be very well rounded in terms of even the jiu-jitsu and wrestling as well. But I have to think that the line is a little wild. You'd have to play Koslow by submission, right? That seems to be his favorite path to victory. He's got one. No, it's all submissions. So you'd have to play Koslow by submission if you're playing him. If the dog line still wasn't enough, right? Cameron by submission. Steve by submission is plus 700. So that's super interesting, especially since that's his path. But yeah, Cameron's somebody that showed, again, the switching of the stances could be really problematic for somebody that just kind of likes to snatch takedowns the best way they can. He really likes to use his striking just to get in close. I didn't really get too much tape on Mr. Steven Koslow. So James, you interviewed him. Maybe you got a little inside scoop. What do we got?
Nothing crazy other than that key thing that you mentioned, that he had been waiting to get this call. The reason he couldn't get the call is because he wasn't on weight. So now he's finally got that under control. He's ready to take this opportunity. Here's the big red flag for me with Koslow. He doesn't have a single opponent that has a winning record. Like that, you just don't see that in the UFC. That's just so odd. And I'm big on competition here. And yes, he's finished all these guys in the first round, but I think anyone who's good would probably do that if you have a losing record. He's fought two guys that have 500 records, but look at this: 6-8, 2-7, 0-0, 0-2. So not good. That's why I think the line is so wide in favor of Saaiman. So I think I think Cameron.
Okay,
the South African.
but Cameron Saaiman's records of the guys, right? 0-2, 0-2, 4-3, 4-4, 8-7, and then the best record being the Contender Series win of 5-1, Joshua and Kim.
True.
I
agree.
Vegas had him as a sizable underdog.
Yeah.
So it's it's very confusing.
Well, it could be the age as well, that he's 21. Maybe they see more upside or whatever. I think really what it comes down to is that Contender Series fight. They just took a lot of stock into that, but that's not enough for me to lay minus 365. You are insane if you were betting minus 365 in this fight on two guys that really, we have no idea. Like, they have 6 fights apiece. Like, it's just crazy that, this is like an LFA co-main event. This shouldn't even, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a really weird fight. What happened to developmental deals? Remember that was the thing. Chase Hooper was on one of those when you win and you're super young and then you get time to develop. Like, even if Cameron wins this fight, like, he's going to be learning on the job with just 6 fights here. So again, I will take Cameron in this fight, but this is another one I said on my show I'm just staying away from. It's just like, again, like, these guys are both too green, and it's just weird that the UFC has really decided that, hey, we're going to see how these guys play out. I don't know. It's just a very odd fight.
Yeah, I think that I love it as a pay-per-view opener, card opener, right? Because I love when the UFC, I always like to think, well, what are they trying to do here? I think they want to kick this damn card off for the bang. And I think one of these guys is going to sleep. Probably, unfortunately, Steve. But I do like a finish there. I like the fight not to go the distance, because
that I will agree with. Yeah, I think that'll happen. And one more thing I forgot to mention with Koslow, if you saw in the interview, I asked him, like, what did you do before you were, going into MMA full time? And he just, like, out of the blue was like, yeah, I used to sell weed. So good for him. I like the honesty.
that was super cool. I think guys should be, like, just kind of more honest with what they have to do. It's like, because you do wonder how a lot of these guys, like, continue to make it. Like, how do you pay for your gym time and your something? Like, how are you paying?
That's one of the biggest mysteries, man. A lot, like, I don't know.
Hey, Chronic Combat is definitely down with the Chronic. You know that.
You know this, man.
Oh yeah. So there we go. Oh, good.
Fight doesn't start round 3 minus 165. I know that's chalky.
Yeah.
Like, it's not starting round 3. They're gonna kill each other.
You're all good, brother. No worries. We love you, Prince. Thanks for hopping in, everybody in the chat. We appreciate everybody, and most of all, James, thanks so much for coming on today. And before I pass it off to the guru, and after I said thank you, you got any last words before we get out of here for the night?
Thanks for having me on. Glad we made it happen. Glad we're ending the year on a high note. I need to have one more card, but this is the last pay-per-view, so I'd like to think that, it's good that I got on this show and
Big
everything.
time.
And keep up the great work, guys. Like, I love seeing people in our space doing something different, trying out different stuff. I love the format. I love all that stuff. I love seeing people succeed and get wins, and that's what you guys are doing. So thank you for having me on. The easiest way to get a hold of me is on Twitter, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. It's the same handle. You can see it there. I'm sure all you can read and see it, so that's great. And YouTube as well, youtube.com/Lynch on Sports. I work for like 12 different outlets, but all my stuff's on my channel under playlists. So thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
James, a true Canadian gentleman, just absolutely incredible. I was so gracious with your time and just amazing, man. Seriously, it means the world to us. We've looked up to you from afar for a while, and it's wonderful to get to continue to call you, like, friend of the biz, personal contact. It's just really, really awesome. Just a unbelievable guy. Works incredibly hard and just continues to show like how important professionalism is and hard work and all the good stuff, man. So it really, really means the world to us that you come on and hang out with us. And to our fans too. So then the last pay-per-view, we crushed that. One card to finish up the year, Cannonier Strickland next week. Getting it together, man. Super, super excited. Gonna miss UFC while it's gone, right? We always say that. Only a month though.
Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy your family, you degenerates. At least try. At least try. Or at least the people around you that you love.
We'll wish it next week. But until then, we got plenty of degeneracy to still fulfill here with this unbelievable pay-per-view. James, thanks again. You can follow James at Lynch on Sports. Make sure you're doing that. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram too. I mean, he's all over the place. Follow my unbelievably hardworking co-host at TB Scouting MMA, Instagram Verdict, Twitter Tapology, and me as always, Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter Verdict, Instagram Tapology, and of course, we'll see you next week for Cannonier Strickland.